Hey guys, welcome back to Sydney Reefing. I'm here with Chris Dagger from East Coast Corals.
G'day.
And we're at a home aquarium farm, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And this is in your house.
In a converted double car garage. There's been a fair bit to get this going. We've been talking about this for a couple months now.
We have been. And I think I came here quite a few years ago when you just kind of set up the thing. And it's nice to see how far it's come. Like, you've got a full lab and everything here now.
Yeah.
But maybe we can sort of start, like, what got you into this hobby? Obviously, like, you've had to start somewhere, and now all of a sudden you've got this coral farm in your house, which is pretty cool. So, give us a rundown of that.
Well, I guess like most aquarists will feel, I started with a little 30-litre nano tank.
Yep.
A buddy of mine got it one, and I had aspirations of having a marine tank for decades, and then he got one, and I was like, stuff it. If Aaron can have a fish tank with a clownfish in it, I can do it too.
Yep.
And started from there, got excited by it, and then changed my uni path.
Yep.
And studied marine biology, and then later focused on coral.
Yep.
Coral morphology, and then did a thesis in it.
Oh, cool.
And then was on the track to do a PhD with a scholarship lined up, and then our good friend COVID rocked up.
Yep.
And then threw the spanner in the works.
Yep.
And they were like, you can still do your thesis, but you can't travel the world and study coral. And
which kind of takes all the fun out of it, doesn't it?
it does, yeah. And I was like, stuff it. And then I was like, if I can't get a gig that way, I'll make a gig. And then found this big tank here for dirt cheap, and it just
grew from there.
Yeah, just improved.
I think we're quite similar in that way, isn't it? Like, we both started as being aquarists and started off just sort of experimenting with corals, and then we decided we loved it so much we wanted to go to uni, do all that, and now we're doing different things, and you're running a business selling corals and making your own trace supplements, I believe, as well, which is really cool. We'll talk about that later. But give us a rundown of these tanks. So you've got two tanks here. So you've got this one here, which is your fragging tank, I believe.
That's exactly right. So we have the Frag system here. They're both linked.
Yep.
I believe this is around 400 litres.
Oh wow. Okay.
Just the cube. So they're both 4-foot cubes.
Yep.
And yeah, all the cuttings from the parent tank will move across into here, and then within about 2 to 3 weeks they'll be ready for sale. Once we've got a nice bit of establishment, that's the tester running.
That's awesome.
Excuse the beeps. But yeah, it's very much a working system. So I guess unlike your home aquariums, it's not always about glitz and glam. It's all about utility. All the fish are utilitarian.
Yep.
Besides my
two clowns.
My two clownfish. They're actually just laid a clutch of eggs.
It's pretty cool, and they're obviously, what are they? Peculiar or?
Yeah, one's the black and white is a Darwin, and then the other one I believe is Amphitryon ocellaris.
Okay. Yep.
So it's a tank bred fish.
And they get on fine.
Yeah, well they've just laid. The black one is almost 13 now.
Yep.
So she's quite old. Yeah, yeah. She's large enough now to draw blood when she's
fair, yes,
a bit angry. As a good damselfish will.
I've got marks all up my arm from my clowns. They're aggressive little things.
Yeah, it's a love-hate relationship with clownfish, isn't it?
But yeah, you're saying this is so that you have all your mother colonies in here and you frag them out. You've got quite a lot of different corals in here. Like, you've got a lot of Montes, Pocilloperas, Acros. Run us through, like, what corals do you have in here, basically? Like,
yeah, so it originally started as a stick-based system, and then as my interests in the hobby have grown and changed, I've started getting more of the soft, and now it's kind of getting to the point where I'm actually just looking for the weird and wonderful, what everyone doesn't have. I do have some of those named corals in the tank. I couldn't tell you which ones they are. I couldn't care less about the names.
Ultra something. Yeah. And because they change colours, don't they? Like, you get them, they might look great, and they change, and they might change again.
Exactly right. And it depends on like the balance of what elements you have in the tank. What's the limiting factor as to what allows the coral to express the pigment through the enzyme relationships internally, among other variables.
And so you were saying that a lot of your fish in here are utilitarian. So what sort of fish do you have in here, and sort of what roles do they play in this tank?
So we have three groups. The most obvious would be our tangs.
Yep.
So these are herbivorous fish, and their job is to constantly keep the algae at bay to make the corals happy. The second round are our planktonivores.
Yep.
So we have all our chromies, and then we have this Japanese swallowtail who, it's a bit unfortunate, but he has a large tumour within his gill. But he's been living with that now for a few years, so he seems to be okay, but it is a little bit unsightly.
Yeah.
And then the next stage down is we have our predators. So we have a whole range of smaller predators in the tank, be it, six-line wrasse through to dotty backs, and even like a long nose
Butterfly fish.
Thank you. Yeah. So they've all got jobs. The chromis job, the biggest job of the chromis, which is, and arguably the most important job, is I feed about an eighth of a tablespoon a day of reef roids.
Oh, yep.
So that'll go into the tank.
Yep.
Broadcast everywhere.
Yep.
Corals will obviously eat the reef roids.
Yep.
And then so do the chromis.
Yeah.
And then around 2 hours later, because fish intestinal tracts are very simple,
very quick,
goes out the other end, and that's another round of food for the corals.
Yeah.
So it keeps that nutrient cycling.
I think that's something, that like we tend to overlook. Like we picture these systems and we're like, oh, we're feeding it like once or twice a day, but you forget that like the nutrient delivery is actually delayed by quite a few hours. So like if you just give one big massive feed in the day, a lot of the corals aren't actually going to get that nutrients till later on the day, and it'll just be hit in one big burst. So it's far better to like broadcast spawn like that, broadcast feed, sorry, but then also allow time for your fish to digest that food and then deliver those extra nutrients to the coral. Because obviously, as you know, in the ocean, like there's always food fluxes coming in and out, and it's always constant. But I think a lot of us aquarists like tend to forget that, and then we get all these nutrient issues and we get cyano blooms and everything like that because. Yeah, our nutrients just aren't as stable as they are in the ocean, isn't it? Like,
yeah, it's interesting. The tanks these days, especially when we introduce like roller mats, the efficiency of them they all become quite sterile, and we've removed a lot of those food sources.
Yeah.
I do run roller mats on this system, a recent addition, and it's actually been made wonders on obviously a very established tank.
Yep.
I was dealing with issues of high total dissolved organic carbon.
Yep.
And so it gives you that tannin colour in the water. And because of that, my pH was kind of stopping around 8.2.
Yep.
Now that we've pulled all that organic source out of the water, we often sit 8.6, 8.7.
Okay.
Obviously helped by the dosing
Yep.
of the sodium carbonate, which really helps to push that pH up and get that.
Can you give us a rundown of like all the equipment on this tank, like touching on dosing? Because I can see you've got just so many cables everywhere. You've got a UV sterilizer here, and then you got old tridents and everything. You got Apex. So like, what sort of systems are you running? Are you running controllers on it? Like, what are your return pumps like? Skimmers, all that sort of stuff. Give us a rundown.
So I run the full Apex system, and I try and push the limit of what it's capable. So I guess we can start at the bottom, work our way up.
Yeah, definitely.
Apex is the brains of the system, so there's a lot of positive and negative cycles in terms of like I forget the name, but something happens and it triggers a response. We run 2 heaters on the tank for starters. Both one runs for 12 hours and then the other runs for the other 12 hours of the day. Gives that extra break, and then we have fallback systems that once the temperature hits a certain threshold, both heaters will turn on to bring it back up.
And what heaters are you running? Are they in the sump or?
Yeah, they're in the sump. So we're running Eheims.
Oh yeah.
Just old reliables. They get replaced every 6 to 12 months.
Yep.
So we run through them. Return pumps, I run Jabbar.
Yep.
The nice and cheap ones.
That's what you need.
Yeah. Well, the whole premise is like our big water tank as well. All the pumps are the same brand. So if one goes down, which has happened at the moment, the return pump for this big tank died. And so it was just a matter of unplugging it from the water tank, putting it on. It was a change within 10 minutes. System's fine. And then we have the new one in the mail as we speak right now. And then so we run that. We have an oversized skimmer. We actually run 2 skimmers.
Yeah. So you got 2 skimmers there, but one doesn't have the neck on it.
Yeah.
By the way, I love this. A lot of people will see this sump and think, oh, it's filthy, blah, blah, blah. But I love it. That's the whole idea of a sump, is you want it to be dirty. You want to encourage that biological activity within the sump as well.
Exactly right,
It's kind of like the guts of the ocean. Like, that's where a lot of the nutrient sort of down draw comes from, stuff like that as well. So I love that it's filthy.
Yeah, well, it's a working tank, as I mentioned before, but it's all utilitarian. So we have a large oversized sea torch skimmer, a Beast 200, and then I've replaced the motor, or I've replaced the pump on it for a Aquamatic, Aquamatic 9000, I think it is, skimmer pump. Really great pump. I'm very happy with that. And then behind the roller mats, we have a second skimmer, which is just a great white skimmer, and that runs my ozone at night. Which is a nice little added plus. We have 2 roller mats, the Clarity and the Red Sea 1200. So SK 5000.
Yeah, it's
reef
a big,
mat
big one, isn't it?
Yeah, and I love them. And then, oh geez, where's next?
And I noticed, so you got all these return pipes under here. What's this? Is this like a sediment trap or something?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So that's the sediment trap for the UV. So it's a Pentair 50 watt UV.
Oh, yep. A decent unit.
Yeah. So that's aquaculture grade. It is not running at the moment because like I said, it's utilitarian. So we're not dealing with any bacterial issues. And I'm very pro algae, so I don't want to bang down on my algae stocks at all.
And I noticed you got heaps of wave makers, and you got some on the bottom as well coming up, which is pretty cool. Like you don't really see that too often. I mean, a lot of people run sand in their tanks, and I guess you have the ability to do that because you don't have sand. But.
Exactly right. Yeah. So we got three MP60s on the bottom. And they running at 100%.
Oh wow!
Turning over the water, and then we got 2 MP40s on the walls, and then we have just a singular Tunzi. And that one, and between them all, it turns over quite a lot. I think it's over 150,000 liters an hour or something in flow.
Just a little bit.
Flow for acros, flow is king.
Flow is king, isn't it?
It does create some issues. I'm trying to find spots for the LPS to live, but I mean, you can look at this hammer coral right here, and it's absolutely loving life. Mounting on the bottom is probably, if you can do it, I would strongly recommend doing it, but just make sure you silicon the underside, otherwise it fall into your sump and then you'll be having a bad day.
Yes. I've noticed you got heaps of cool corals and different morphologies as well. Do you want to like show us some of like the different species you got? I guess one of my favorite things is watching corals fight it out. So we can see like these two acros at the top. We got the very woolly. Look at
I believe that's a Yeti, and then some red-green thing next to it.
I'm loving the scientific names.
It's great. It's an acropora. That's the main thing. Someone will have some crazy name for it out there. But yeah, so it's all layered, and they're all. It's just like the real world. Corals don't necessarily have they don't go looking for where they can settle. It's what real estate is actually available. I'll land there. Can I survive?
Yes.
And that dictates. And then, I mean, that segues into what I studied, right? So I studied morphological drivers in coral. So classic example is Poecilopeira damacornis, which has spawned through polyp ejection. So I didn't glue it on the glass.
That's awesome.
And you can see the flow in this tank very much swings around. And it's
growing
that
out
dominant
away,
shape.
isn't it?
Yeah. So that's
awesome. And I saw you got a massive, is it a Pavona?
Yeah, Pavona cactus.
Look, I love that. That's a beautiful coral. You don't really see a lot of them in people's tanks these days.
Completely underrated coral. It's stunning and relatively easy inhabitant to keep. I think people get very tunnel vision on like it has to be a Monty for your encrusting or plating, and if you want to stick, then it's either a bird's nest or an acro. Like there is so many options out there, from a simple Montipora digitata through to Pavona cactus, different types of Monties, Cyphasterias.
And so, what sort of lights are you running? So, see, you've got all the same brand by the looks of it. So, what are they?
So, on the top here we have Gen 5 XR30s. We have 5. I'm looking for a 6 at the moment.
Okay, so if you have one laying around, contact Chris.
Maybe send me a message. We could trade for coral. And I specifically chose the Gen 5s. So these Gen 5s are newer than my Gen 6s. The Gen 5s have a narrower lens, so it penetrates a bit better. It's quite a deep tank. And then on this tank we have the Gen 6 blues, so XR15s. And that's, it's a lot shallower tank, so we don't need that power. So more white in this tank to get more growth, and then more blue to make it look better for sale.
That's a good way of doing it. And what
Yeah.
sort of par are you getting in this tank? Like, obviously, it's different at the different depths, but like up the top where most of the acros are, what would you be getting?
A lot.
A lot?
We're looking at 500 plus at the top. On my old tank, I used to run the big black box Viper Spectras, the 300 watts, and we were sitting at around 800 par at the top.
Which, I mean, is up there, but like, and I've talked to other people about this on the channel as well, and a lot of corals out in the ocean, like they, especially during low tides, they'll get blasted by
in the 5,000s.
Heaps and heaps of par. So corals can withstand it, but I think the thing that screws people over with their tanks is when they're constantly changing these light levels as well, because they see one
set and forget.
Yes, exactly. Like, I always get people messaging me, oh, send me a light spectrum, blah blah blah. But like, you can run a lot of whites on these tanks, but at the same time, then you're going to have increased algae growth, so then you have to increase the amount of herbivores and stuff you get. You've got to look after your nutrients a lot more. So it's like you can tailor the light to what you like, but you have to think about everything else.
You have
as well. Like,
ultimately,
it's
the lights,
holistic.
Yeah, the lights are for the coral. They're also important for us, but it's mainly for the coral.
Exactly, yes.
But as well, if you're going to be running high, you need to allow that coral to function. So with higher light, the coral's byproduct is oxygen radicals, which is a very aggressive process, and that coral needs to be able to expel it. So you need to give the coral the right, trace elements to allow those enzyme functions to push the oxygen radical out of its tissue itself, and then you need to have that flow, adequate flow to lower the diffusion boundary layer on the coral, which is the microscopic thin layer of water that doesn't necessarily move. We need to thin that layer to allow that oxygen radical to fly out. We're getting super nerdy now.
I mean, you guys probably like this stuff, but it is very nerdy. But I mean, and you learn all this through doing aquaculture and keeping corals. Like, I certainly didn't learn much of this at uni. Like, uni is great teaching you stuff, but this level of stuff is...
Yeah. So it was a bit of both, really. When I was studying, morphology drivers, it was trying to figure out what would cause it, and as you know, when you do a lit review, you would just read anything and everything that has even a synonym slightly related to your topic. Boy, do I wish ChatGPT existed when I did my thesis.
So much easier. I'm guessing you've read everything on trace elements and everything then.
It's my new, as we were saying pre-video, like the obsession when I first started was making coral frags and how could I push that, and now it's, all right, like how can we push the envelope? What trace elements are usually limiting in your tank? So like, you got iodides, fluorides, boron, bromide, strontium. Iron is a big one. Iron and iodide, if you can dose those daily, you'll likely see a very good change. Shameless plug for my new upcoming label. But yeah, look into it. Any brand that's pharmaceutical grade, look for the pharmaceutical grade. Like, if you're putting elements into your tank, be conservative. Don't waste the money on going cheap. Like, you're spending all this money on beautiful corals, and then you buy some jank product on the dark web of Amazon or eBay.
And that'll do it, won't it? You don't know any, because you don't know what contaminants are in them either. Like, a lot of the ways that these are processed, like, you don't know what's been processed in the same factory prior to it and stuff like that.
Exactly right.
Remnants of anything in it.
And you might be buying something as simple as potassium chloride. And potassium chloride's used for everything. You can buy the lowest grade and it will be $10 for 30 kilos. And it might have a high concentration of mercury in it, or some other, or a little bit of copper. And like in our tanks, the tiniest bit of copper can cause havoc. Like we freak out when we see a little rusting screw on the top of your tank or on your light system, and then you turn around and go, oh, it doesn't matter though, like, this is a cheap bottle, let's drop it in. It doesn't make sense.
No. I love how you got your camera set up there. I think everyone with a half-decent aquarium has a camera mounted on their tank.
The hackers that break into it, they just get a nice view.
Fish get you
stressing out. It's just stupid fish tanks.
I see you got a decent battery backup system here too.
Really important to have a battery backup, especially in storms. It's not plugged in. Going right under the skirt. Another really good one is cable ducting. Most people don't do it.
No.
But it's just so important.
Especially
safety.
when safety,
man. Like,
Especially when you got a working tank like this, you don't want to be tripping over cable. I mean, I'm not one to talk. The back of my cabinet's filthy, but it's all shoved in there. So,
go to your hardware store.
Yes.
Find your cable ducting section and accept it's going to suck making it, but you need to do it. It's one of those things. So have your drip loops in there, and when something goes wrong, you take the cable ducting off, all your cables fall out. It's super neat and easy.
So you were saying before how you've got sort of different lights on this tank to colour them up for sale. So what does that involve? So when you frag up corals and you put them in here, do you do anything differently in this tank as you do in that tank? Do you feed them differently?
Not necessarily, no. We do have different flow in this tank, as we can see with the gyres. They're all from different angles. It's really important with frags, especially if you're gluing them into your tank, you don't want to have any movement. A lot of people will get the plug and they'll really wedge it in hard. If the coral feels that little bit of vibration, it just doesn't like life. So it's a fine line between making sure, as I mentioned earlier, to get adequate flow to suit the needs of the coral, but not so much flow that they're blowing around the rack and then that stunts growth. On this tank, I kind of dealing with, my issue is corals are growing too fast.
Wouldn't that be a nice issue to have?
The encrusters always give me havoc. You can see the shape of those Monties and the Leptoceruses. They're just encrusted over everything. And it's a nightmare. Cleaning frag racks,
I can imagine,
is a pain.
So what sort of parameters do you target in this tank? Like in terms of alkalinity, calcium?
Yeah, so because I'm running SPS dominant system, I am trying to push for a slightly lower KH. I know that's a little controversial with the old adage of more is better.
I run low as well, but what are your reasons for running low?
Well, I guess my first reason...
Define low first.
Okay, so low for me is between 7.7 and 7.9.
Yeah, so
7.9 is my honey
levels. Natural levels.
Exactly right, yeah. So I used to run this tank at about 8.5, 8.6. And weirdly enough, when I pushed it down to 7.9, my growth and dosing increased.
Interesting.
Yeah, so run about, so 7.9 for alkalinity. Calcium, I'll run at about 450 to 480. Depending on my nutrient loads, I will push it up high. So if I want to really brighten the tank up, I'll push it as high as 500, 520 if you want to be real cheeky. And that really brings out the colors. But you need to have that high flow. You need to have absolute floor minimum of 3 ppm per nitrate. If you go below that, it's just on a knife edge and it'll just tumble.
So what sort of nutrients do you run in these systems?
So at the moment I've pulled the nutrients down. I believe nitrate runs around 12, and then phosphate is 0.01.
So it's definitely not a nutrient depleted system at all, is it?
No, we were dealing with big issues of nutrients in this tank. We were sky high on phosphate in the 1.0s. That was very high. And then with the addition of the roller mat, that pulled the organic carbon out. And then from there, I overdosed iron to intentionally bring down my phosphate. Iron is usually your limiting factor for the algae. So intentionally growing more algae on the glass.
Clean it off, get stuck in the roller fat.
Exactly right.
Filter, sorry.
Yeah, in the roller fat.
Roller fat. Roller fat. That's a fat. It is a fat roller you got on there.
So the getting that algae, making it work for you is a big process. I
think, and then that's something to accuracy. You need to think about everything holistically. It's something you do. All the algae growing on the glass plays a role. You clean it off, it gets taken up by the roller filter. It's an export method basically. It's like having an algae mat sort of system in your sump. It's the exact same sort of thing.
Well, you look at the surface area. I mean, it's a double-edged sword, right? If this was in my house, I would want the glass to be pure every single day, and I would not want to be there cleaning the glass. But desperate times, I need to get my nutrients down, and it's the easiest and quickest way. There are options like lanthanum chloride, but as you know, there's risks of killing corals if it's done wrong. You throw out your ratio of phosphate to nitrate. Not that I usually encourage people to chase ratios, but it is important to consider.
Everything within ratio. I think, and people they see all these parameters and they might want to try and copy you, but it's not about chasing perfect numbers or anything like that. It's about like what, and as an aquarist, you'll know when your corals are healthy as well, and especially after you've been keeping them for several years, you'll know what makes them happy, what makes them upset. But even like, I really like what you were saying before about how you had phosphate issues, and so dosing iron is a way that you can help that, and that's something that not a lot of people would understand because they don't think of the system as a holistic kind of system. But ultimately it's its own ecosystem, and any little change you make to it has the capacity to drastically increase nutrients or change other parameters within the tank.
There's so many intertwined variables. It's like, take pests for example, right? Like feather duster worms.
I love them. No,
we have different opinions. I find them quite unsightly, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like we have quite a few hidden underneath there. But they're filter feeders. They're important. They have a role. When I set up this tank, especially, like, I guess what's cool about this tank is almost everything is grown from a frag. Like, as we can see, this tiny little frag just here. I'm so sad that that's called a frag these days.
Yes.
We'll have to get the macro lens out.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, so everything is a frag. But when we first started the tank, the cycling phase for me, because I did complete dry rock, was brutal. It was absolutely brutal, and I probably wouldn't do it again. I would go back to live rock. But we had, massive mats of algae swinging through, and insane cyano blooms, and
I'm not big on dry rock. I like live rock.
Live rock is great, and I was sitting there and we were at the stage where I was like, do I dose something like fluconazole to shred out that algae, break the glycogen production within the algae, and ultimately I was like, no, I'm going to stick it through. This is just the ugly phase. And then 3 weeks later, almost overnight, poof, all gone.
I've dosed fluconazole before in my tank. Whilst it did what I wanted it to do, it also completely ruined the microbiology of the tank. Like, I started getting all these coral diseases and everything like that. So it's an easy fix, but it's going to ruin everything else. Like, there's no one out in the ocean sprinkling these antibiotics in the ocean to get rid of stuff.
Well, exactly right. Like, and what I think a lot of people forget about, and like, is like the microfauna is incredibly important in our systems. Like, people dose phytoplankton to the tanks, and my opinion is phytoplankton does very little for the coral. But what people forget though is that phytoplankton is then the food source. It's the primary building block which allows food for your micros. And even when that phytoplankton breaks down, so you've got some dead stuff in there, it's a food source for your bacteria to bind. And your corals are eating your copepods, your amphipods, even your aquaporus will eat bacteria. So if you can enrich your bacteria in your system, be it carbon dosing, and you have some way of getting that bacteria to bind onto phosphate, for example, which is what corals will eat, then you're going to see much better coral health. You'll see larger pods because they're actively feeding. You'll see better colours, more strength, better tissue. So it's completely holistic. So people will throw in whatever antibiotic to treat whatever issue, and there is a time and place. But I think they need to approach with caution.
And often, like, if you've got hair algae, there's a reason why there's hair algae in there in the first place. It's not actually addressing the primary issue there. But like, and we all know that corals are symbiotic animals as well. We know that they have algae. But like what you were saying with the microbiome, like a lot of the microbiome in the corals is actually essential for healthy, like the actual animal itself to maintain. But like,
it's very easy to overlook the fact that I have algae issues. I need to treat that in my tank. But what about the algae in the coral? It's going to be affected the same way.
They're all diatoms. You have diatoms in corals, and you get diatom outbreaks in your tank, and you think, by killing all these diatoms there, not thinking it's going to affect the diatoms in the corals as well. But
what's that old adage? Nothing good happens quickly in a reef tank.
Yes, or cheaply either. No, you can do it cheaply.
Did I hate that saying when I was first starting? I was like, I want it now.
Do it properly is something I've learnt.
And ask questions. Like, find that senior reefer that's been doing it for a while. Ask the question. I've spent my money on every product under the sun. You pick the snake oil. I've probably tried it. Some of them work, and I've been thoroughly impressed. Other stuff, they got my money.
That's it.
And so you just ask questions, find that community, find that support. even if it's a matter of just being at your local aquarium store and asking questions.
They're great.
And then just, you see someone else looking and go, what sort of fish tank you have? Everyone loves to talk about their fish tank.
Everyone does. Speaking of snake oils, what sort of snake oils do you make up with your lab?
Well, so at the moment, I'll be, maybe depending by the time this video gets aired, it might be in stores, but these are the 5 right now I'm running. Nice. So we got bromide, boron, potassium and iodide. Very fluoride as well will be, still being manufactured. They had a quality issue at the lab.
That's all right. That's all right. You'd rather it come out now than later.
Exactly right. And that's the joys, I guess, of a pharmaceutical product. Yep. Making sure that it actually is of top grade.
Yeah.
So if you're in Sydney, you can always hit up Billy at Aquaristic. He'll be
Aquaristic.
Aquaristic.
Do you have a website they can buy from, or?
Best way if you're buying the chems is to go through Billy.
Okay.
If you want to look at buying coral frags, Instagram, East Coast Corals is where to find me. Even if you just have general questions, and I know that's probably a dangerous thing saying.
Well,
but just fire away. I love talking coral nerd.
Coral nerds are weird, aren't they?
But I love it. My fascination at the moment is trace elements and the relationships it has with the coral and how those different enzyme functions affect the pigmentation. How we can really chase that 95% optimum growth and colour. I think there's so much left on the table with just simple iron, potassium, iodide, even fluoride. Those.
Have you done much stuff with manganese, or? Because I only say that because I have an opinion. It's a loaded question. Yeah, because at uni we're actually looking at how manganese can increase the thermal tolerance of corals, and we've found some pretty promising things. So I'm wondering if you've sort of done any experiments with manganese in this tank at all. Or?
Not explicitly for thermal tolerance.
Yeah, I guess you're not really reading up.
That is very much loaded for me to pull apart your brain. I know you'll probably be very zip the lips until your paper comes out.
Coming out soon, so yeah.
But yeah, look, I know manganese is, as everyone knows, very popular for Gonopora aquarists. But if you push that envelope with Acropora, typically not very happy. No. So it is, it's choosing your objectives. Something is a good comparison would be flow, right? Acros love as much flow as you can throw at them. If you've got a big, fluffy, juicy LPS, probably not going to like the same level of flow.
Speaking of, you've got a really nice saprophyton in there as well.
Yeah, he's recently gone into the chop, as you can see by that concave shape through there. We cut him maybe 3 weeks ago. So he's definitely going to need to be chopped up pretty soon.
And so you got your own fragging bench and everything here as well.
Exactly right. Yeah. So we've got the bandsaw here, and we run it over on the table here in the wet area. So we've got the taps, we've got all our frag plugs here and our primary tools that we use. Our PPE is stored up the top there. Simple be it glasses, gloves, masks if necessary. Your paleozoas.
You don't want any of that. Also too, just I've fragged up a lot of corals at uni, and just the smell of them too. If you go out in the sun on a hot summer's day after you've been fragging corals, it just stinks. Oh yeah, it's disgusting.
And for me, I have a dermatitis reaction now with Acropora, so I have to always wear gloves, otherwise my skin just breaks out.
What are your fingers? Do you have Acros fingers?
Oh yeah, I'm absolutely on top of it now. Anytime hand goes in the tank, I am gloved and rubber band. Sometimes I get a little bit of hive action on the arms.
It's funny, but you're allergic to corals and
Well, yeah, it didn't start, but it's just, they do all have stingers, right? They do, They're cnidarians. So they are going to slowly get to you, and I've had friends that have found themselves in hospital from fragging zoas and getting it wrong. So, be smart. It costs nothing to wear a pair of safety glasses, buy a box of gloves.
And I forgot to ask too, so do you do water changes on this tank?
Yeah, water changes are by necessity.
Okay.
So a lot of testing, ICP, figure out what's needed, and then water changes is a tool for me. So if it needs a water change, either I can do it manually through that big water tank behind, or through the Apex I can do an automatic water change.
Awesome.
So we can just turn it on and it'll change however many litres I need. And that's all plumbed underneath the floor.
That's pretty cool.
And it drains into the sink and extracts out of the water tank over there.
That's awesome. And so what do you feed the tank on a daily basis? So you mentioned before you do reefroids, but what else would you feed it?
So I do quite a limited amount of amino acids. The amino acid dosing for me is I'm just making sure it's not a limiting factor. I want the primary food source to be the bacteria and the zooplankton, which is in the reefroids. So that's the primary source. A happy Acropora can produce 150% of its daily energy needs if it's at optimum health, right? You know, coral weird, you look at them wrong, they decide they want to die. It happens. It happens to me. It happens to everyone. So that's where those extra layers are. You don't want to have, you know, an amino limited system.
Well, there are some amino acids that corals actually can't produce, isn't there? There's a few of them. I can't remember the exact ones. There's
thymine? I don't know.
Someone comment if you know. It's out there somewhere, I forget.
I would love to. I've heard all sorts of weird and wonderfuls. For me, I like to keep my bacteria population healthy. So I will do everything from, I have my own concoction where I mix, you know, vodka, white sugar, water, and a little bit of vinegar to get all those different carbon sources in, and then that fuels the bacteria to feed on the phosphate in the water and then be nutritious for the coral. So it's, you know, it's an SPS system. An Acropora's mouth is, on some of them, it's like a micron large.
They're not heterotrophic feeders, are they? Like the Postloperas and stuff like that.
That being said, though, when I was working at Orpheus Island, the research station out there, they had an incredibly large Helofungia. And once a week we'd feed it a whole pilchard. They're pilchard like this.
No, they will eat, won't they? And I think anyone who's had small fish in a tank will come back one day and find their corals half eaten it. It's not uncommon, but...
And I mean, probably on that note, if you have your corals on the sand, take them off the sand.
They don't
Unless it's a fungia or a Helofungia, it doesn't want to be there.
No, it does not. Anyway, on that note, I think I'm going to have a look at some of these corals and maybe buy some from you. Yeah, we'll... but yeah, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for taking us on a tour of your tank. And if you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to either myself or Chris. And yeah, thanks for watching, guys.
Smashing. Have a good one.